Hey, what's up YouTube? It's Idalsa here, founder of the Body Fluency System. And in this video, I want to talk to you about a major paradigm shift that I'm presenting here at Body Fluency in the field of exercise and fitness. And I call it a paradigm shift because it's a fundamental way that people think about movement and how to train the body. So fundamental that people actually don't think about it. They're not even aware that it's happening. And this paradigm I'm talking about is the difference between bone watching versus muscle feeling, muscle sensing. What do I mean by that? So I'll start actually by sharing what I started off this journey with is by doing a system called functional patterns. And functional patterns is a good system. I believe what I'm creating here goes much deeper than what they do. But if you're looking for some sort of benefit or people who actually know they're working in the right direction, I would send you that way. What I think they could do better in is their whole paradigm, like everyone else's, is focused on what I call bone watching. So what you would do if you were training in functional pattern is you'd be training the technique of a movement. Maybe you have a cable machine, and then your trainer is telling you to elevate the shoulder, flex the spine, lateral bend, da 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 da. And what they're essentially telling you to do is to move your bones in a very precise way. And then you're also going to be set up in front of mirrors. They go really out of control with the mirrors. You got a mirror behind you, a mirror in front of you, a mirror on your side. And then you're trying to use the visual feedback of how your bones are positioned as your feedback for what you should be doing and how to put yourself in the right position, right? And so we have our eyeballs looking at the relative position of our bones to each other using these geometric commands like, lift this, put it forward, bend to the side, rotate, this type of thinking. This is what I call bone watching, and it definitely has a utility, but it is missing something fundamental. And the issue is this. Let's talk a bit about the geometric planes, these kind of Cartesian planes that we move through. So they're important to know, as one of the first things I teach in my body fluency system are these things. So for example, if I take my humerus bone right here, I can take it and move it front and back. I can come up and down with it, what I call outduction and induction. I can also do this sort of rotational dimension here. And I can combine these to do different things. So I can come out here and out here at the same time, and I have this, or I can add the rotation to that as well, right? And if you actually look at, say, a striker throw punches or kicks, you'll notice that they're not like, sock and boppers like this. There's this kind of curvy movement that occurs when you throw punches. Same thing, unless you're Tom Cruise and you're like running like this, when an actual sprinter is running, you'll see this type of movement, this very multi-planar movement where your things are all kind of like curvy and smooth instead of like angular and blocky. And the reason for that, if you actually look at the anatomy app and look at how the muscle fibers move and run through space, they don't move in one plane. They move in all planes at once. Every muscle is kind of doing this sort of spirally motion there. And that's why when you see an athletic flowy movement, a flowy and fluent movement is naturally going to be one that's like this. So now taking it into specifics, for example, if I look at the muscles that connect, that we think of as a pectoralis, which I call a tree, because it's actually multiple links. The root of that tree is my humerus, and then the first branch goes into my clavicle, which looks like this curve. That's what that curve is. The next one goes into my manubrium, which looks like this. Next one's my sternum, looks like that. Next one is the front of my ribs here, which looks like that. And then the last one goes all the way down into my abs, to my pubic bone, like that. So going through them again, I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you can see that those are different movements, but how would you describe those? You'd be like, oh, this one's a bit more, lower, or that. You couldn't really be precise. You couldn't use these language to be precise in it. I can watch you and then kind of coach you through it and tell you these kind of cues. But that can be kind of tedious. You're dependent on me to give you those cues. You're not really developing any autonomy and self-awareness for yourself. It's not really efficient in that way. So how do you solve that? This is where you switch paradigm. This is what we do. Major switch. You might not get what I'm saying here until you actually do the program yourself, but just putting it out there for the record. Instead of me thinking about moving my humerus on a specific geometric plane relative to my body, I can just say shorten the sternal pec. Or I could say shorten the clavicular pec. Shorten the pubic pec. Right? And because I have a knowledge of that curve, that phrasing makes sense to me. Or I can say, just to give other muscle examples, I have the inner bicep right here that's coming in and inserting into my scapula, and I can say lengthen that bicep, and I get this. And I tell you to shorten that bicep, and I get this. And I can say bend the elbow while you shorten it, I get this. And what's happening is each of these muscles have their own curve in space. And the first thing you do in my system is learn how to feel each of those curves, because you can feel it. I'm not just like memorizing some arbitrary motor sequence. I can actually feel when I'm on the curve, and when I'm off the curve, I'll lose the smoothness. I'll start getting either cramping in a short position or like flaccidity or loss in a long position. So what I train you is to pay attention to your kinesthetic sense so you can feel that, and very quickly you can learn how to find every single muscle curve. And then you can feel when that muscle's long, when that muscle's short, when it's at neutral. And then now, when I cue you as a coach, I don't have to kind of stack these, infinitely complex geometric planes of like rotate your scapula 13.7 degrees to the counterclockwise while elevating it 13.2 centimeters. Instead of doing that, I can just say shorten your pec minor, or lengthen your quadratus lumborum, or shorten the sacral glute. And if you have that vocabulary, now you can move in a hyper precise way, be autonomous in that, so you don't require me to come and cue you on the geometry. You can just feel it in your body. And in a later video, I'll explain why knowing that curvature is the fundamental skill for rejoining and reintegrating and reconnecting your musculature. Because the core technique of the program is taking muscle A and muscle B, which should be connected but they've lost their connection, and then reconnecting them so that the energy can flow through that point. And the way you do that is you find the curve for muscle A and find the curve for muscle B, and then you join those muscles together. And by aligning them to pull on each other. And this is something you can do with your eyes closed. In fact, you can do even better with your eyes closed, because then you can dedicate more cognitive resource to the kinesthetic sense and feeling that. So all this progress I know that I've made in my own body with this control that you see here was all made without a single mirror, without me having to like visualize and think in these planes. Everything was just me exploring the kinesthetic space within my body, and then reconciling that with some critical thinking about what I'm visualizing on my anatomy app. And then now I have this crystal clear image, a visual image that is combined with a kinesthetic feel that allows me to know where each and every muscle curve is and how to join them and pull the bones into alignment. And that's the final point I'll make, is that why is it superior to work within this paradigm of feeling the muscles versus the standard paradigm of watching the bones? It's because when you say move a bone, what is doing the moving? It's your muscles. Your musculature is the only active component of your body. Your brain is sending a signal to the muscle to contract, and then that is what makes movement possible. So your bones are passive objects. So when you say move your arm in this way, move your humerus in this way, versus shorten your pec, lengthen your lat, lengthen this muscle, shorten this muscle, you're speaking more directly to what's actually happening. You're getting closer to the source. You're at the source. And I guess if you want to go deeper, you can be like, fire the neuron that controls the lat. but I don't think it's probably going a little bit too deep. This is the level you want to be at, being able to feel each muscle. So a very, very important paradigm shift with the people I work with. They understand that language, they learn that curve, and it's quite useful. I can sit there and eat cereal on a Zoom call and coach one of my students like, okay, you need to shorten your clavicular deltoid, and then while doing that, I want you to lengthen your brachialis. And because he knows that, he has that mental fluency I keep talking about, he can take that cue and then he's like, oh wow, that feels amazing. And I'm still there eating my cornflakes, not even lifting the finger. And that is the power of the paradigm when you learn it. But you need to learn that language. You need to go through the process of developing that mental fluency. So if that's something you're interested in doing, check out bodyfluency.net. Right now I'm just putting these videos out to have a backlog of them, so it's not really there right now as I film this video, but hopefully by the time you're watching this, it's up there, and then there's things you can do on there to help yourself develop your basic mental fluency so you can switch paradigm from bone watching, from watching your bones in the mirror and kind of probably getting kind of vain and vainglorious in the process, versus searching within to the more deeper, richer space of your kinesthetic feeling and being more precise in your movement, in your awareness, and as a result, getting further in developing your body fluency. All right, so if you got questions on that, let me know in the comments. If you liked it, like it, subscribe, tell your friends about it. I'll see you in the next video.